Best of R slash Tales from Retail episode 44. So, there's been a commotion at my workplace lately. I'm on day 2. I'm already wanting it to be over. So to fill in some blanks, you'll need to know that a guest over the age of 18 bought a copy of Assassin's Creed for someone under the age of 18. Kid turned out to be a runaway and his dad came in screaming and cussing at the kid. Parents called the police and left before the cops even got there. Kid left with police. Today, I was working alone when a man came in and asked if I worked last night. I told him I did. He told me that he was the boy's father, asking me if I remember the game being sold to his child. I told him I did. He snotted and asked if I was aware that his child was underage. I told them that I did not sell it to his child, that another guest had assisted him to purchase it. He raged on me, demanding to know why I would allow a complete stranger to sell a game to his kid. I told him we have no way of telling who knows who here. He yanked out a receipt and started telling me how he wanted to return the game. First off, no, that's not the correct receipt for the game. Second, I sold a new copy. That game has been played. I cannot accept the return. Third, this is the second time you've come in angry and condescending towards someone in the store. It's not a reason I can't accept the return, I just wanted it out there. He gets mad and tells me he wants to speak to the manager. Manager can't answer the phone, so I tell him I'll write down his number and he can call him back. He roars and tells me I need to get him a manager. That if we did not work with him he was going to go on social media and publish the whole thing to everyone he knows. As he continued his abuse, I finally looked at him and asked him, "Sir, are you threatening me?" By now I have the attention of the entire store. Literally a dozen people in a small store staring at this guy, attempting to backpedal. He insists, "Oh, no, I just wouldn't want to tell anyone how your store works. Are you planning to blackmail us?" He tried to stumble, but everyone was getting pretty done. I asked him what his phone number was, repeatedly. "What is your phone number? Tell me so I can write it down." And then, "Oh, what? Are you going to ask me to leave?" He was angry with me, obviously. "No, I am." Another customer had piped in and the man looked at him. "You have no idea what the situation is." "No, but we can all see what's going on here. You're screaming at her, blocking everyone else." The jerk looked up and realized that literally everyone was looking at him. He decided then that he would not give me his number. Looking back as he left, he said, "I'm just gonna call corporate." Someone finally came in literally minutes after as the adrenaline in my body was leaving my hands shaking. I went to the back and texted my manager. He got back to me and said that even if he did, his complaint wouldn't go far. But seriously, to the guests who helped me get him out, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you were all so ready to back me up and help get him out of there. Thank you. Next. My first ever real job was at a chain electronics store that has since gone extinct. This is about 2015/2016 that this happened. Me equals me, C equals customer. An elderly gentleman rolls into my store with a large cardboard box on his walker. Me, "Hey, so how can I help you?" C, "Not much today, man. Just got a return for ya." Me, "Cool, what are we returning today?" He sets the box on my counter. I look down and am greeted with the box for a VCR, a plain VCR. I had worked at that job for a year and some change. Never have I seen or sold a VCR in my store. I've seen VCR/DVD player combo devices occasionally at other electronics stores, but not this. I begin opening the box, assuming that this was just the nearest box he had to carry his product in. I stare at a pristine, untouched, still in the plastic VCR. Me, UHH, "Sir, out of curiosity, what store did you get this at?" C, "I bought it at this store." Me, "Are you sure? I've never sold a VCR my entire time working here." C, "Yes, I bought it at this very store. It looked a little different last time I was here though." I shrug off my confusion just to get on with the day. Me, "Do you have your receipt, sir?" C, "Of course." He hands me the receipt. I look down at it, before scanning it. Purchase date 2002. Me, "Sir, this VCR is ever so slightly out of our return policy." C, "Really? By how much?" Me, "Like 13 years. C, "It's just been sitting in my closet. I haven't even opened it." Me, I mean, I'd love to help you, but this thing doesn't even exist in my system anymore. See, there's nothing you can do, it's just like new. Me, I mean, no. Customer begins grumbling about how customer service has really changed as he leaves with his pristine fossil from a bygone age. TL. Doctor customer upset, but not super upset, that I couldn't return something after he had it for 13 years. Thank you. Next. Customers, I'm gonna open this packaging and look at this product because I'm incapable of looking at the demo or doing research about it ahead of time. Then I'm going to either not repackage it or repackage it so terribly that it looks like Edward Scissorhands was the last person to look at it. Also customers, no, I don't want to buy this product, it looks like someone opened it already and it might be broken. Also customers, what do you mean I can't tear open this box like a rabid grizzly bear just because I want to look at the product? No, of course I wouldn't buy a product that looks like its packaging went through a particularly disgruntled blender. I don't understand why those things are connected. Thank you. Next. Hi all, I've been lurking here for a while now and here's my first post. TL. Doctor at the bottom. I'm a student working as a part-time checkout manager at a large retail hardware store. I've only been at my store for a little over 7 months, but I already have tons of stories about our crazy customers and sometimes eccentric employees. Those are for another day though. This particular story happened last week. In my duties as a checkout manager, I often have to head out to the garden section of my store to deliver till increases to the cashiers out there and check in on them from time to time. The garden center is on the opposite side of the store from the indoor checkout area, meaning that I have to walk past the customer service desk on my way to and from. Cast. Me, AM, assistant manager, SM, store manager, DS, department supervisor, CS, customer service employee, YC, yelling customer. Maybe an hour into my shift, I was walking back to the main checkout area after talking to one of the cashiers about the extra half hour he wasn't supposed to take on his lunch break. As I walked past the customer service desk, I saw one of the assistant managers standing next to one of the customer service employees talking to a customer, with the store manager and a couple department supervisors nearby. Anytime an AM or SM is at the customer service desk, it pretty much always means bad news, let alone the both of them. This particular time, I could hear the yelling from the second I had stepped inside the store from the outside garden area. Naturally, I was intrigued. As I approached, the details of the situation began to unravel. Apparently, this particular customer was trying to return a drill he had bought over a year ago that had since had something go wrong with it. Normally this isn't a problem. Our store is kind of famous for lax return policies, including year-long returns if you buy the item with one of our store's co-branded credit cards, which this customer had done. The problem here of course is that it had been over a year and the item had since gone on clearance, meaning it had a value of $0.01 in our system. Again, this would not be a problem if it had been within a year, but alas, that deadline had passed. After having berated the customer service employee and demanding to speak to a manager about the situation, the assistant manager had come over to deal with the situation. Yelling customer, I don't understand why you can't return my drill. AM, I already told you sir, the purchase is over a year old, the system won't allow us to return it. YC, then give me a store credit. AM, so I can't do that either. The item hasn't gone on clearance and it has no value in our system. YC, are you serious? This is insane. I want to see your ID. AM, I'm not going to show you my ID. YC, I'm making a complaint to corporate. You have to show me your company name to prove you're the manager. AM, notably irritated and confused by this request. Sir, it says right here on my name tag that I am a manager. Pointing to her name tag. See? It says assistant manager. YC, no, that's not good enough. I need to see your official company name ID. AM, we don't have company ID sir. I am more than fine giving you my name and the store number, but I won't and can't give you any other information. YC writing information down furiously. This is ridiculous. I'm filing an official complaint and telling them how mismanaged this store is and how FCKED up this is. AM, so you need to go. YC, what do you mean I need to go? AM, so you have done nothing but yell at me and disrespect my employees. You need to leave or we're calling the cops. YC, you're going to call the cops. I should be calling the cops because you won't give me my refund. AM, sir, you need to stop yelling and you need to leave. At this point I am astounded by the entire situation. Apparently the SM and the nearby garden supervisor were too, because none of them were doing anything to help the AM out. I turned to the garden DS and he quietly told me to call the cops. I stepped closer to the situation, placing myself between the AM and the YC but off to the side slightly and dialed 911 on my work phone. Me. Hi, I'm an employee at store and location, and we have a customer here who has been asked multiple times to leave and is not complying. We need him removed from the store. YC, you're calling the cops? This is ridiculous. Meanwhile he began to gather up his items he had attempted to return. Me, yes, at this point he is trespassing and needs to be removed from the store. By now YC had gathered his items and was heading toward the door. The SM and I followed him out. I ended the 911 call early after the SM decided that he didn't want to wait for the cops to show up since YC was already in his car by this point and was taking off. The AM was visibly shaken from having been yelled at but later thanked me for having her back in the situation and joked with me about it the next day. Remember folks, just because someone is a customer doesn't mean that you have to put up with them assaulting you. TL. Doctor, a customer got angry that the manager couldn't accept his return and, after verbally assaulting her, I had to call the cops to get him to leave. Thank you. Next. This happened at my old job, where I worked as a peak temp. A lady came up to the cash desk and tried to pay using a 1-for-all card, which is treated as a credit card. However, when I was processing the sale, when I pulled the card reader, I had accidentally pulled out the cable for the monitor and I thought my computer has crashed. Therefore, I went to the computer at the customer service desk. When I put through the sale, the card was coming up as declined. At this point, the customer was getting a bit frustrated. I called my team leader and he tried again but no dice. I called the number on the card to check the balance and it was showing up as 0. The customer was clearly irate at this point and was complaining that I had accidentally bent the card during the transaction, which I apologized. Long story short, when she reached into her purse to pay with a credit card, she had another 1-for-all card in there and the card she handed me had been used. She apologized profusely for the mix-up. Thank you. Next. I work in the bakery at a large chain grocery store. I don't make cakes/cupcakes, but I do hand over orders to customers when they come to pick them up. Like most days, I was by myself, no department manager. This guy comes in and says he's here to pick up an order. Fine. I ask him for his name and he tells me he ordered 30 rose cupcakes in a full sheet box. I wheel them out to him on our rolling table. He picks them up and drops them into his cart. Just dumps them. He then gets mad and blames me for dropping them. He then starts yelling at me because the cupcakes weren't exactly how he ordered them, and that he needed them to be exactly right for his significant other. He insists I took the order, which was weird because the order wasn't in my handwriting. I hadn't been there when he claimed he ordered them. I'd never seen this guy before, and trust me, I'd remember this guy. I show him the order form and he snatches it out of my hands. I'm trying to de-skill it and this guy keeps cursing at me. I casually place my hand on his cart and he jerks the cart away. The most I'm allowed to offer is 50% off, which I do. He wants none of it and refuses to take the cupcakes, cursing me out. At this point I decide I've had enough and go get the manager on duty. As I walk back with the assistant store director, I fill him in on the customer, C, and warn him that the guy's in a mood. When ASD and I get back to my department, C has the box open and is messing with the cupcakes. ASD introduces himself and asks what the problem is. I stand next to the counter with my best poker face on. C explains that he ordered them just so, that I took the order, that I dropped them, yada yada. ASD offers C the cupcakes free of charge if he will leave now. C refuses, curses us out again, I'm never coming to store again, and leaves without the cupcakes. ASD and I just look at each other. Me, I told you he was something. ASD leaves and I wheel the cupcakes back into my department. All the adrenaline I'd been holding back released, because I was concerned this guy was going to get violent. I know some martial arts, but I don't know how I'd fare against an angry fat guy who looks like he works with his hands. All the yelling and cursing and snatching things away had put me on edge. Once my hand stopped shaking, I made a note explaining why the cupcakes were still here and went back to work. About 15 minutes later, the phone rings. Guess who it is? C. I want to talk to the bakery manager. Me. She is not in today, as I told you earlier. C. Well then who the did I talk to? Me. That would be ASD, the store manager. C. Let me talk to him. I transfer him. A few minutes later, ASD pages me to the office. I was a little concerned, but nothing I couldn't explain. ASD gestures for me to take a seat. ASD, you're not in trouble. That customer called back and asked if the offer of free cupcakes was still valid. I told him that they are not for sale to him at any price, and if he talks to any of us like that again he will be banned from the store. I'm going to have you write a statement and sign and date it in case he goes to corporate. I do so, and then he wrote his statement on my paper and signed it. We chatted for a few minutes about it and I went back down. The whole incident was caught on camera, further corroborating our accounts. Nothing ever did happen. I did keep a broomstick within easy reach just in case he came back for vengeance for ruining his whatever, but I never saw him again. I was grateful ASD is a super chill guy who had my back the whole time. He saw C messing with the cupcakes and saw that he was trying to make me look worse. We did everything right. We were calm and polite. He was looking for a fight. I'm just glad it happened to me instead of my more timid co-worker who sometimes has my shift. I can take abuse with a straight face. I don't know how she would have fared. We ended up selling the non-damaged cupcakes individually in the case to get rid of them, so it wasn't a total loss for us. ASD got assigned to another store a few months ago, but he's still the best ASD I ever had and he is missed. And that was the only time I was concerned I was going to get in a fight at work. Thank you. Next. This happened yesterday. I work for a retailer/department sort of store, and on Sunday we're usually not busy. It's also January so we're really not busy aside from the droves of people coming in to return their Christmas gifts and make a fuss that they can't have cash back if they didn't pay with cash. The usual. I get to work in the shoe department today, so I head on over and am immediately met with an older lady, probably in her later 60s. She is there with her partner who is another lady of similar age, and they both look like they shop in the men's department for their clothes and shoes. No big deal, so I get to assisting. Main lady, who we'll call Smellfoot for the sake of her visit, wanted to return some shoes she had bought because they were too big. No problem. I returned the shoes and since she had paid with our in-store credit card, I just let her know it will be put back on the card and she'll be refunded. It's only after we're done that she makes a fuss and says, well, where's my cash? Turns out she didn't want the credit back because she wanted to get rid of our card. This isn't that huge of a deal seeing as I can see exactly how much money went on her card and then when she's finished shopping, we can charge that amount exactly so that her balance on the card stays 0, 0, 0, and then her partner, who we'll call partner, said she'll just pay the difference since it's Smellfoot's birthday and she was going to get her something else instead anyway. Alright, well I hand Smellfoot a receipt for the return which I stapled to her old receipt as we'll need that later to do what I just entailed. I spend the next 30 minutes or so bringing shoes back and forth for Smellfoot to try on, and it's a difficult process since we don't carry very many of the small men's sizes in store. We usually have to order them for the customer. During this process, Smellfoot is urging me to get down and check her toe, saying how I'm the shoe salesman here and I need to show that I know my stuff. First of all, it's a department store in which yes, I am familiar with the brands and how to do most register things, but lady, I work here part-time from a seasonal gig I grabbed a couple years ago, only on the weekend, and the sort of people who are staffed in these areas are by no means a purebred shoe salesman shining a pair of legit leather shoes in their store window up in Atlanta or something. Second of all, I just found this weird since this is something a kid would have done by their parents. Pinching on the toes of the shoe and telling them if it's too big or not, or a wife or husband smooshing up their spouse's shoe in a similar fashion. I wing it just to be a good sport, but like I said, I'm a cashier and the most I can legitimately do if you have a shoe size question is to put your foot on a metal measure and show you where your big toe is so you can see what to get. Gripe over. Smooshing your toe in the shoe is not going to tell you anything. After we've picked out 2 pairs of shoes for Smellfoot, I get to ringing them up. First I have to look up their credit card number in our system since they apparently already tossed the card somewhere and had no plans on using it again. I then go the extra mile to run it and see if they had any rewards which would give them another $10 off. Considering they probably just got it, they didn't have any rewards for me to apply, but that's okay. All I need now is the return receipt I mentioned earlier to make sure I charge them the right amount on the card. Well, Smellfoot decides that she doesn't have the receipt and that I still had it. I do a double take around my wrap stand, looking under the few shoe boxes we had lying around and glance into some drawers and even the trash can just to make sure I didn't swipe it off into the floor or something. When I don't find it, I'm like, no mom, I don't have it. Could you have left it over there trying your shoes on perhaps? The fact that I dared even suggest that maybe she had misplaced her receipt somewhere, which couldn't have been far, really enraged this lady. She's got this really gruff and aggressive sort of way of expressing herself, and she comes around the register and tells me to let me dig through that trash because y'all are no good slimy liars, stealing receipts. At this point me and my ringing mate are just speechless. I let her peer around the counter while I dig through the nasty trash again and show her there are no receipts. Smellfoot then proceeds to accuse my ringing mate of stealing the receipt then. There was a line forming behind this as it happened by the way, and by the time we resolved it later, they had all gone. However, while they were waiting I could see their eyes get big as this lady just pitches a fit about how she's going to call the law on us for stealing her GD receipt and yada yada. Son of 2 biscuit eaters these cashiers are. Eventually the voice of reason, partner urges her to check her pockets one more time. Guess where the receipt was? After handing it to me so I can do my thing, Smellfoot claims I need to walk away. I've got to cool down like it was all my fault that she was up in a huff and ruining her blood pressure. I finish up the transaction just as planned with partner, and with a weak smile she claims so sorry, yell and heads off to find Smellfoot who's stalking up and down the aisles now, throwing angry looks at my ringing mate. And that was only my first customer experience of the day. Remember kids, grand receipt theft is a real problem in retail.